Hello and welcome to this video and Happy New Year. I hope you all had really nice Christmases. Today I am shamelessly promoting my channel because my brother bought me these for Christmas, which I'm really excited about. So if you've been following my social media over the Christmas break, you're probably pretty sick of seeing photos of snow. But I have a habit of coming across on social media like everything is fine and dandy. To be honest, I think most people do. Like, I don't want to be posting photos on my Instagram of me looking like death. I'd rather be posting the cool photos in the snow and on the snowboard. But as the purpose of this channel is partly to truthfully talk about my recovery, I wanted to be honest about how things were out there. And this trip in particular definitely was not as it seemed on the outside. And that's not to say that it wasn't amazing, because it was amazing and I learned a lot and it was so good, but it definitely was not without its struggles. So in this video, I just wanted to explain how this trip actually played out. And this is not me complaining, because I know that I am extremely fortunate to even be able to be in the position to plan such a crazy adventurous trip. But I'm just going to explain some of the issues that I came across. Well, first of all, like, I already knew that I wasn't really going to be physically prepared for it. The training I had started was going well, and then COVID took me off my feet, and then I basically was left with 1 month to fully prepare my body after being ill for over 2 years to go on this crazy trip. And at this stage, I still haven't been able to get out of the crash and burn cycle when overdoing it. But even still, while out there, it seemed that fitness and strength didn't really let me down. This has been sort of the case throughout this whole thing. I've always found that I'm usually able to actually do the thing, and it's more an issue with the recovery. So at the time of doing the snowboarding, I didn't feel too bad. I think partly because of the adrenaline and just how much fun it was. But the main problems really came afterwards. The first thing that was really affected was my appetite just went straight out the window, and I found eating really difficult, which made everything else really difficult. And I spoke about appetite loss in another video, so I'll not blabber on too much about that. But it really just felt like I just was so depleted. I didn't have enough energy to digest food. And then the next thing after that was, well, pretty much straight away, sleep just totally went out the window. But even on the days that I slept a bit better, it was just very unrefreshing. So it was like I started the trip up here, and then after the first day of snowboarding, I was completely depleted. And whereas most people would sleep and then they would feel refreshed, they'd come up again, I just kind of stayed down here, maybe slightly a little bit better. Then I would do it again, snowboard, and then I'd be down. So it was kind of this sort of downward spiral that I've spoken about before that was going on. And in the end, I was pretty much just running on fumes, and as you can probably hear now, I sound absolutely disgusting. I caught a really bad cold in the last couple of days, and I really was just having to force food into me just to keep going, really. But I did keep going. It went against everything that I have practiced this year and learning to listen to my body. But the thing was, when I was on the snowboard, I think it was the only time that I didn't feel shit. So I loved it so much. And like I said, it was probably the adrenaline and, you know, the distraction. But I think on this occasion, like, I'll just call it pure indulgence. I just let myself overdo it. this past long time, I've just been constantly living with restrictions on myself to not overdo it and constantly worrying about overdoing it. And this time I just thought, fuck it, I'm just gonna flip and have fun. And I did, and I have to say, on this occasion, the gains were worth it. There's been plenty of times where I have overdone it, and it's, you know, it sort of helps my mental state for a little bit, but then the crash is so big that it hasn't been worth it. But on this case, it was so worth it. It really was. And that's not me advising that everyone goes out and just goes nuts and overdoes it, because that's obviously not good in this case. But I think for me, I was in a place where I'd put in so much work beforehand, and I think I was ready. Well, okay, maybe I wasn't fully ready to push it that much, but yeah, I need to remember that I pretty much went from going like not mile per hour to 100 mile an hour, and it was the most physical thing I've done in years. But here's the actual good news. Even though I was completely wiped out and like I returned, by the time I got back, I was just like a pure zombie. Like I felt so sick. I couldn't even hear out of my ears because I had such a bad cold, and the plane really hurt my ears, and I was a mess. But despite that, this is the shocking thing. It only took me 3 days to recover to my baseline again. And in those 3 days, I was able to work. So this has done so much for a lot of the fears that I had in overdoing it. Like I've said a million times, I've had such a fear when I'm increasing activity that I'm gonna crash, and you know, it feels like if I crash, it's gonna add like not just days onto my recovery, but like, you know, there's potential that I could add another year onto the recovery and really go back. So, you know, just knowing that I was able to push things that far without causing major damage has given me so much more confidence in my body. And while I don't, you know, I don't plan on pushing myself to that extent where I feel really ill again, I'll definitely be less afraid to experiment in my training to get stronger and fitter. So that's pretty much that. In conclusion, I'd say it was a very challenging trip. There were so many down times, even though on the outside it looked like everything was perfect, and that's why I wanted to do this video, because I know that a lot of people going through chronic illness, they, you know, sometimes they can push through things, and you know, people will see their photos on Instagram and think, oh, I don't know what they're complaining about, like, you know, they're out doing walks and, you know, in my case snowboarding, but what they don't see is, you know, what's on the other side of the camera when the camera's off. And sometimes that can look like you're just really dying a little inside. And, you know, it was tough, but in conclusion, for me, it was really worthwhile, and I was impressed with what I was able to do. It's a shame that it was such a struggle. So, it, you know, although I would say it was a sort of successful trip, you know, I would love to be able to do it again and not have to feel really shit in the evenings and mornings and all that. But it's definitely progress, and I've got lots of plans this year. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. I will be posting a video of a compilation of videos from the trip. So at least you know sort of what was going on behind the scenes as well. So anyway, well, wishing you all Happy New Year, and thank you for watching, and goodbye.